И хлеб обязательно.
Да, но они у меня там.
Готовьте.
Надо, чтобы они мои.
Были и с рисом, и с яйцом.
Отложите мне черный один.
Один
Большой.
Хорошо.
Мы познакомились с Ларисой несколько лет тому назад на рынке.
I met Larissa several years ago at the market in Opochka. She immediately caught my eye because of her extraordinary appearance. She looked a bit weird, probably a little otherworldly. While visiting Opochka again, we went to the market to buy some food, but could not find what we needed. So Larissa suggested going around at her place.
Когда я оказалась в деревне
When I
Морозово,
found myself in the village of Morozovo, which does not even rate to have a signpost, which I saw an unpainted 5-walled house for children and a lot of cattle, I was stunned. We fell into talk about her past. She turned out to be an artist, her husband an architect. It was then that I realized that I wanted to make a film about Larissa, my first documentary. This is sort of an adventure. So far, I've had an experience in working as interpreter, teacher, foreign language coach in a musical theater. I have also done acting and written books on specialized subjects, as well as fiction, but I have never made films. Information about this unusual family can be found on the internet. In Pskov region, they are considered to be celebrities. However, all media articles only tend to emphasize the fact that the German family has relocated to Russia and settled down in the countryside. And also, they make traditional German delicacies. Not a single word is written or spoken about the reasons that made them leave Germany. I felt this relocation is not to be taken literally. It is rather something to do with choosing one's own way in life, looking for paradise lost, going back to one's roots, broadly speaking. It has to do with an attempt to create one's own world, not a virtual, but a real one, earthbound and material. It also has to do with the price one has to pay to achieve this. Not so long ago, people used to grow flags in Pskov region. Blue fields of flags would wave like a sea. Fair-haired children, both girls and boys, were affectionately called lenok, little flags. And every household used to have at least one retin pond, where flags was soaked. In German, the expression Die Fahrt ins Blaue means a pleasure trip or a journey without any particular purpose, a leap into the unknown, a trip to the seaside, but most importantly, a trip to admire blooming flax fields with one's beloved.
Ее зовут Larissa Bart.
Her name is Larissa Bart. She was born in Kyrgyzstan in 1977 in a family of a Russian father and a mother who was an ethnic German. As she admits, her life path has not been easy. In the 90s, Larissa's family moved to Düsseldorf, Germany. In a more or less conscious age, Larissa already knew that she was going to be an artist. But the professions she was dreaming of in childhood somehow came up later in her life. In Germany, Larissa obtained a degree in graphic design, and after that, painting. She met her husband Sebastian Wiswedel, who is an architect and a native of Essen, in 2006. In 2008, the couple had their first son, Ilya Ben-Georg Wiswedel. When she had her baby, Larissa, who had lived in Germany for more than 15 years, realized that for the sake of her son, she had to recall the Russian language, which she was starting to forget. Through the language, she came to God. It was old belief that appeared to her a spiritual capstone.
Когда Лариса
7
ожидала
years ago,
появления на свет
when
Савва
Larissa was
Ян
expecting Salva Yan
Феофан,
Feofan,
несмотря на протесты
she
родных,
and her
отправилась
husband,
вместе с
contrary to
мужем
the
и старшим
protests
сыном
of their relatives,
свою
started their
Тифат
Tifat in Splawa.
Инсблауэ. Уже здесь, на
It
Псковской
was
земле,
here, in the
родились
lands of Pskov,
Савва
that
Ян
her other
Феофан,
children,
Семен
Sava Yan
Яков
Feofan,
Святослав,
Simeon Yakub
Лев
Святоslav, and
Почему
Lev
Лариса и
Guryan
ее муж
Visvedel
приняли такое, на
were
первый
born.
взгляд, странное
Why did
и
Larissa and her
неожиданное
husband
решение?
make such an unexpected decision?
Нас случайно сюда
It was our friend who
знакомая
happened to
уже
take us to
дочь
Pskov lands.
изучала
We
местность
we saw beautiful apple orchards and understood that it was love at first sight. We realized that we wanted to cultivate and take care of them. I do believe it is global heritage. It is important to cooperate with nature. An apple tree, as such, is a meaningful symbol. It goes through many natural processes like a human being. It has to be raised. If it is not looked after, it starts growing old.
В жизни
Larissa
было два
had two
значительных
serious moves in
переезда.
her life.
Один
One
из
from Kyrgyzstan to
Киргизстана
Germany
в 14 лет,
when she was 14,
и второй
and
из
then from
Германии
Germany
в
to
Россию
Pskov
в зрелом
region.
возрасте.
Only those who
Понять,
have had a
насколько это
similar
может быть тяжело
experience can
морально и
understand
физически, сможет
how
только
hard
тот
it
человек,
is,
который сам себе
both
стал подобным.
physically and psychologically.
Был вопрос, хотим мы, не хотим.
When our family was moving to Germany in the 90s, first we hesitated, but then it became obvious that we had to move for political reasons. Our family consisted of 3 generations: our grandmother, her daughters, and their children. Nobody spoke German in the family except her, so we could not understand a single word she said. My parents were born in 1951. In 1956, the deportation period in the USSR was over, so they were able to leave Siberia. Before that, they were forbidden to speak German. Larissa moved to Germany when she was 14. Very soon, she figured out that she wouldn't be able to accomplish anything in a new country without knowing its language, so she stopped reading Russian books. I want my children to speak many languages, to be bilingual. Though I did not use Russian for almost 20 years, I cherish the dream that my children would enjoy this treasure, the key to a different worldview, which is encoded in the language.
Ну, тут я с тобой согласна, как
I
раз
agree,
сегодня
our
говорили
thinking
насчет
is verbally
того,
driven.
что наше
But
мышление
the reason
вербальное.
for our move
Связь
can't
языковые,
have been only the
как мы
language.
говорим и как мы
Can
учим,
it?
она теснейшая. Но не может же быть причина только в этом, что ты переезжаешь из
Of
одной
course
страны в
not,
другую,
but
только
in
для
the
того, чтобы
beginning
говорить
was the word.
по-русски.
Going back to one's mother tongue involves looking closely at Russian culture, history, and religion. I met people here who still keep their faith because they know what is right for them. The power of their faith, it is so great that they are ready to go into exile or even die for it. I was absolutely overwhelmed by that. Thus, we moved to Russia. What we wanted first and foremost was to be self-sufficient. We did not want our children to be ordinary consumers. I want them to be independent, that's it, able to do everything with their own hands. Larissa's relatives, to say nothing of Sebastian's family, could not put up with their choice so easily. Moreover, they were annoyed that so much time, effort, and money was spent on his architectural education, while now he's going to do something completely different in a foreign country.
В итоге, когда-то я просто сказала, или я сойду с ума, или я уйду в монастырь.
От чего?
In the end, I said that either I'm going to the mental hospital or the convent. I could see no sense in the Western style of life ruled by consumerism. If you are childless, it is easier to fit in, to find friends, a cafe, a studio to work in. However, when you have children, you start thinking whether you want them to become a part of this society, to live this life. The time came for us to make our choice. To live in comfort, waiting for retirement, or to make our...
Die Fahrt ins Blaue.
Die Fahrt ins Blaue.
Have you ever thought how your children are going to judge your life choices in the future? Suppose some of them will ask you why on earth you brought them here from Germany, where they were living so well, to tend goats or what?
До того времени, когда мы
When we started considering Russia as a place to live in, when we started visiting it, Ilya was 5. When we finally moved, he was 7. So the preparation lasted for 2 years, didn't it?
Да.
And this is already a different age when a child becomes a conscious human being. When we start living here, it was really hard first. That was when Ilya started asking us why we were here, if there were so many difficulties and problems in our everyday life. We visited Germany once a year, so he kept asking, when are we finally going back? It's better it's there, after all. It was very painful for me. Now he's 13, almost 14, and I hear him say that life is actually better here. He has grown to like it. As for the younger ones, they have nothing to compare it with. In Germany, people do not use patronymics. Instead, they tend to add the name of one's grandfather or father to the first name. That is why all Larissa's children have 2 or 3 names. The eldest is Ilya Ben Georg. The second son was called Sava Yan Feofan. Theophan the Greek was Andrei Rublev's mentor. As Larissa said, it is very significant for her, because Andrei Rublev is extremely influential in the history of art. The third one was given the name of Simeon Yakub Svetoslav. The youngest one was called Lev Guryan. It took Larissa and her husband the longest to find a name for him. It is highly important for Larissa how the names sound. The eldest son is of great help around the household. He herds and feeds the cattle. However, like any other boy, he has a dream. So, I am really into IT and computers. I have a dream here to drive a tractor across the fields. I love games, learn programming. I would like to become a programmer to develop different games.
Но кто знает, как сложится жизнь детей?
Who knows how life will work out for children? There are many examples of ordinary village kids, smart and handy ones, who in search of a different life came a long way to eventually succeed in business or art. But all of this is in the future. As of now, Larissa's young ones are enjoying a relatively careless childhood far away from the city's hustle and bustle. Nowadays, city life is a life of people packed in cotton wool, where they are completely safe and nothing can hurt them. Of course, it hurts, of course it can. When we came here, we realized that this is what real life is like. Every move should be carefully considered because of possible consequences. If you go out on the frozen ice of the river, you may drown and so on. Why am I talking about cotton wool? Because in the city these consequences are alleviated, so to say, while here we are faced with real life.
Вата. Какое неожиданное определение.
Cotton wool is an unusual metaphor for city life. We are used to the amenities civilization provides, to comfort and safety. What we have in our fridge can be easily purchased in the nearest supermarket. Life in the country means working from dawn till dusk, without weekends, especially if you raise livestock. You raise it, it feeds you. Their household is entirely self-sufficient: dairy, lard, jam, pickles. In order to buy bread Larissa makes, people come from neighboring villages.
На базар специально приезжают даже местные.
Larissa, tell me from the very beginning, how do you make bread? More importantly, why do you do that? After all, it can be bought at the baker's.
Любой человек может купить. Пойти в магазин и купить, а ты делаешь сама. Почему?
Во-первых, я в русской печи.
First of all, I make bread in the so-called Russian oven using leaven. Furthermore, I bake to feed both my family and others. Before I start, I say prayer. You make bread twice a week, on Friday and Saturday, don't you?
Правда?
Да. В пятницу 25.
Right, 25 loaves of bread on Friday and 25 on Saturday.
И сколько остается для...
Sometimes we are left without bread because everything is sold. Sometimes I make to bake more on Tuesday. How much does your family need for a week?
Чтобы всем хватило на неделю хлеба.
Ну, если
If I don't cook much, we need 5 loaves. Otherwise, it will suffer.
А ты любишь?
Do you like baking bread?
Тебе это нравится?
Ну, конечно. Странный вопрос.
Of course I do. What a strange question. We have been living in Russia for 6.5 years already. From the very beginning we knew that we needed our own bread. For several months we were learning from the locals how to use the oven, how to make dough. When we made it for the first time, we gave some to our neighbor, who comes from Siberia. Next time she visited us, she brought a truckload of birch wood. So, told me that I need to use this type of wood to avoid the smell of smoke when I bake. This is one of the numerous fine details.
Это лапа.
С рыбой?
О, как орехи, кстати.
Это булочки. Можно мне одну булочку?
Подожди, Занька, когда, во-первых, ты, во-вторых, спрашивай не у меня.
Когда хлеб, когда есть...
When you've got bread on the table, you're blessed with gracious leaven. If you haven't got any, you're dog poor. Going to the supermarket is not an option for us.
А в магазине, ну, для нас это не альтернатива. Как бы, да,
Хлеб всему голова.
Bread is the staff of life appears to be the most popular saying about bread. In the household, it is especially true. Larissa can do everything. She cooks, sews, look after the animals. However, it would be impossible to keep house without a partner. Sebastian is her tower of strength. In spite of living in Russia for 6 years, Sebastian hasn't mastered the Russian language yet. He understands more than he can say. Nevertheless, he seems to have caught the gasp of Russian mentality. I actually feel quite happy here. I can't imagine doing something else.
Ich kann mir gerade nicht vorstellen, etwas anderes zu machen.
Папа себе не может представить тут что-то другое.
Ja. Ich brauchte
It was an easy decision to make. I was going to quit my previous job anyway. I don't have holidays or weekends here. I get up at 6 in the morning and work till midnight. I milk cows and goats, give them food, turn them out.
Нету выходных.
Da. Also ich stehe eigentlich um 6 Uhr auf.
С 6 утра до 12
He works from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. Because cows need to be milked 3 times a day. It has been going on for 6 years in a row. Their household is big, there's a lot of livestock. Everything is managed to the best of their power. It is rather a Soviet style of working than German pedantism. Germans are famous for their pedantry and orderliness, while here I observe certain imperfections. It is because there is too much to do and not enough time? Does it get on your nerves?
Also, was ich ganz toll finde, ist halt...
Нет, папу это не раздражает. Он любит
Sebastian loves Russians for their ability to improvise skills and is constantly trying to master his skills.
Ну, на нашей ферме всегда что-то новое импровизируют.
zu improvisieren und etwas zu erfinden.
However, there are situations which make him really sad and disappointed. Sebastian hears a familiar Russian word "zabor." It means fence, and starts smiling. Apparently, a constantly collapsing fence is a sore subject for him.
Это больная для него тема. Ужасно, да?
This fence is my nightmare. When something doesn't come right, it kills my mood.
Вот это я про это немецкое спрашивала.
Da. Ich kriege richtig schlechte Laune, wenn etwas nicht klappt oder nicht gemacht wird.
Скажи, а сколько вы лет
How long have you and Sebastian been together?
Ну вот со знакомства.
Ну, со знакомства, наверное,
15 or 16 years?
2006 мы
15
познакомились.
лет. 15?
Четверо мальчишек.
4 boys and total inner freedom is a result of the first 15 years of their family life. We were talking to Larissa, Sebastian and their childhood for a long time. We touched upon practically all vital subjects, including the most intimate ones. Larissa was absolutely frank, sharing her memories and hopes for the future. While listening to her, I could not feel astonished at her optimism, power of spirit and character. However, I surprised her with a question.
Но все равно задала неожиданный для нее вопрос.
Do you easily fall in love?
Нет.
No? When you went to school, academy, did you have many love affairs? Did you have admirers?
Да были какие-то там романы, поклонники, там, ну вот такое всякое что-то.
Значит, я
I'm not blonde.
блондинка.
И что же, если
If you're not blonde, does it mean you can't have love affairs?
нормальный она человек, да?
It always seemed to me that it is only blondes who have affairs and admirers, not me. Maybe I was too serious and stern. I did have relationships though, but I was always convinced that men prefer a different type of women.
Серьезная, строгая. Ну, конечно, я дружила с кем-то и когда-то, и...
А скажи, для чего быть
What should you be beautiful for? For yourself, your husband, God, for other people, your customers? Are you trying to be attractive for them? No, I don't think so.
Отлично.
So in the morning, you up and go to the market?
Да.
Right, I do not feel ashamed of my appearance. My hands on my working uniform. When younger, I could paint in my studio and then go shopping or to a cafe without changing my clothes. It is totally fine with me. Does it mean you've never followed conventions?
Всегда.
Exactly, it is not for me. I feel okay when people thinking about me. Here comes a Roman woman.
Кому непривычно, что кто-то выглядит по-другому, и тогда думает, что это цыганка идет или еще что-нибудь.
Что такое красота? Наверное, этому слову невозможно дать определение.
What is beauty? This question is probably impossible to answer. Larissa is very good looking. Her beauty is unique. In my opinion, a Greek profile likens her to the goddess Demeter. She does not bother herself with thinking about people's attitude to her. She is a rebel in a way, like many artists. And as an artist, she is certainly free, which her pictures suggest.
Larissa, художник и по образованию.
Larissa is an artist both by profession and vocation. She is a great expert in styles and techniques. While living in Russia, she has been able to make an exhibition of her paintings in a local village club. There is a village nearby called Sinya Nikola, where they have a club and a very active social life. They offered to organize an exhibition of my works. At the time I didn't have any, so I started painting. First, I wanted to paint angels, but then I realized that it is too early for me. For years, I have been painting on squares. A square, like a circle, presupposes freedom. It is neither vertical nor horizontal. When I start walking, I look for various elements such as stars, commas, circles, poles, stones, mountains, which I use for my composition. It is formal art that interests me. This build-up of elements allows me to create depth in my paintings. Judging by the way Larissa talks about her art, it seems that she misses the creative process a lot. Then I asked her a provocative question. If you are provided with all necessary conditions to create, will you go back to Germany? Will you be able to live all this freedom? The day will come, I'll disappear, while in the self-same empty room, the table bench, icona stare, the same contours of space consume. And just as now will flutter in that silken butterfly serene, to rustle, palpitate and ding against the ceiling's bluish green. And the sky's horizon, cerulean glow, will peer and gaze through this window, while the steady, unruffled blue of the sea beckon toward emptiness. Come, follow me.